You were right, kid. That baby's the creepiest. 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 Creepiest.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Remembering the Razzies. I don't know the theme song off the top of my head. For what? For Breaking Dawn Part 2, our Razzie winner for this week. And, we watched the Twilight movies a few years ago. Like, sat and just brute force through them all. Yeah. And I had a lot of fun. I'm gonna come right out and say it before we even start this review. The Twilight movies are not as bad as people say. If you don't take it seriously. That's true. I don't remember anything else. Right. So we just kind of dove into this one. We should bring it up to speed. So you have Edward and Bella, and they have fallen in love over the past 3 movies. Got married in the last one. Bella gave birth in the last one, and at the last minute, because she was dying in childbirth, Edward bit her so she could become a vampire. But the kid is still half human. And Jacob is just kind of there. He imprints on the child, which means he has formed an eternal bond with this baby Renesmee. You can take it from there.
Alright, so as he starts out, we got Renesmee, we got Jacob. Jacob is like, baby's looking good. And then Bella's like, don't. But then she kind of just gets over it. And then really the only other conflict that matters, I guess, the vampire government finds out about this baby and they're like, can't have no babies, babies are bad, throw this one in a fire.
Yeah, because don't like vampire children, they're just unhinged.
Anytime a human toddler is bitten and it turns into a vampire, obviously it's still a child, and so like it's prone to throwing tantrums and stuff. The government made a rule, no more vampire children because they can't be controlled, and since they don't age, it's not like you can mature them because they always stay children. Vampire government finds out about baby Renesmee, the awful monster baby. They don't know that she's part human, thus can age and mature. They start gathering their forces to go and murder this child. The good guys find out that the bad guys are coming. They gather their own army, then they meet up, then they pretend to have a fight.
It was all a vision.
It was all a dream. The bad guys realize, oh, we're not going to win this fight. And so they're like,
you know what? That's it. I'm done. I quit. I give up. I tried. I really tried. So I'm out. I'm gone. Forget it.
Despite this movie being half of a book, or what Amanda said, 1/3 of the book.
Yeah.
A lot. This feels like a lot going on.
Yeah. As a film, there was a lot of unnecessary stuff. I think as the series, we need these plot points. There's like a conflict where Bella hasn't told her father that like she has a daughter and that she's a vampire now. As a series plot point, like it's very important that this character story gets resolution. But just watching this as a movie, it's like I'd rather just get to the climax. Especially once the good guys are gathering their forces and everyone's gathered, there's probably like 30-40 minutes in between getting everyone together and like actually meeting the bad guys.
Yeah.
And like at first, like there's a little bit of a training montage and that's fine because it leads to some foreshadowing stuff that happens, but like there's just a lot that's not necessary. I think there's a couple occasions where Bella's just like, hey, don't worry, daughter, we're gonna be okay. And then 10 minutes will go by, and then there's another scene where she's with her daughter and she's like, I love you, daughter, we're not gonna die. I get that like we're supposed to be emotionally attached to this, but if anything, I just needed one of those scenes.
Yeah, you could definitely cut this down to a good 90-minute movie.
Oh, for sure. At the same time, I understand that like this is based on source material and you want to be as accurate as possible in a lot of the cases. It's just kind of meandering a lot. I think the best part of this movie is the final climax before you find out that it's a fake out. Really, I only felt satisfied once it was happening. Up until that point, I was just like, can we please just get to where this movie's going?
I know Amanda told us, and I was reading about it while we were watching it, but the book, literally, like, that fight doesn't happen. Yeah. It's a very anticlimactic ending, which, man, if you saw this, I'd been in a theater full of Twilight fans.
What the? No! Are you kidding me?
If it did just end with like everyone meeting up in the field, the armies are gathered, the 2 commanders walk out, they talk, they go home. That would have sucked. That being said, I think the cop-out of revealing that it wasn't real and it was all just a vision
Also sucks.
pretty bad.
If they didn't split this book into two and made it like one long movie, and you still went with the anticlimactic ending, but made it really like emotional, really heartfelt, really pushing the point of Renesmee is not a monster, then I think the anticlimactic ending could have worked. I don't hate this movie.
No,
But I definitely agree that at least we should have built up to it by rewatching the others.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely say this movie by itself, not a good movie.
Yeah.
This movie is part of a franchise, not that bad.
We should have even at least watched like part one. I feel like maybe that would have been
We didn't
helpful.
do that for any other sequels.
That's true. At least
Not
we've
doing
seen them
this.
before.
right.
Okay.
But what did it win?
This had the most nominations of the year with 11, but it won 7.
Wow.
So this won Worst Screen Ensemble, Worst Director, Worst Prequel, Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel, Worst Screen Couple, Worst Supporting Actor, Worst Actress, and Worst Picture. Let's start with Worst Prequel, Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel.
I don't really agree with that. I think
Yeah.
within the context of the films, this isn't worse than any of the things before it. It's not like it dropped in quality. If anything, I think this is better, especially comparing it to like the first Twilight. This one is definitely not the worst, even out of this bunch. So no, I would agree.
Worst Screen Ensemble. I disagree with this one too. As much shit as Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson get, I even think they were trying more in this one.
Yeah, there's definitely some stupid characters that they kind of just have to boil down to one characteristic, but
Yeah.
overall, like, I'd say most of the characters in this are pretty likable.
Worst Screen Couple for Mackenzie Foy and Taylor Lautner.
Hilarious.
Taylor Lautner's character Jacob, as we explained, imprints on this baby,
Yeah.
which is saying that he wants to be romantically involved with her without being romantically involved with her.
Sure. Yeah.
That's how I'm putting it.
The whole movie we're making, like, really messed up jokes, but they're not even really jokes in the context of the universe. Like,
No.
as soon as she turns 18...
I mean, I wasn't gonna say it.
I'm gonna say it. That's what it is.
It's really weird. It's uncomfortable. They do play it in a way that's like, this isn't like a sexualized thing. This is yeah. Until the end, when Taylor Lautner and Robert Pattinson are standing there, and Taylor Lautner goes,
So should I start calling you Dad? No.
and it cuts to a shot of Renesmee, this like little 5-year-old girl, and I'm like, okay, I don't like this.
You know it's uncomfy, one, because of that joke, and two, because initially when it starts out, everyone's reaction is, dude, what? Like,
Yeah.
you have a crush on this baby? He doesn't say, no, I don't have a crush. He's just like, it's
never-
not what you think.
He never clarifies.
Yeah.
It's like weird fantasy grooming.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
kind of gross if you think about it too much.
Deserving, by the way.
Yes, it is deserving, by the way, yes.
Worst supporting actor for Taylor Lautner.
He's not in it a lot.
He's not. I think he's done a lot worse in previous movies.
Bella! Where the hell have you been, Luca?
Him and Robert Pattinson, like, because they always get shit on for sucking in these movies, they were really just kind of background.
Especially Taylor Lautner in this one, he kind of took a back seat.
I guess his arc is done, because Bella's married,
Right.
and if they focus on him anymore, it's going to get really weird with the whole imprinting plot.
Right. I wouldn't say he was acting bad, it was just his role in this film was kind of awkward with his imprinting with the baby.
Worst actress for Kristen Stewart. I'm going to disagree. I mean, she also won for Snow White and the Huntsman, which I haven't seen. But based on this movie alone, especially with knowledge of the previous movies, this is her best performance in the series. Her before this, when she's not married, she's not a vampire, she doesn't have like these secure things in her life.
Sucks. Hate her.
She's just feels bad about herself all the time.
Yeah.
She's always sad. In this one, she's confident and doing stuff.
Yeah,
and
strong.
She, has a personality.
Yeah, until you said that, I forgot that, like, up until this movie, I don't like Kristen Stewart's character. Having not watched the other movies before this, completely forgot about it. She's fine in this movie.
She was the most compelling actor to watch for me in this one. Worst director for Bill Condon.
I mean, it's not his fault, it's more a screenplay, but I think the twist at the end is kind of iffy.
Stephanie Meyer was one of the screenwriters, and she was one of the people who said that obviously it should go with the ending of her book. So I don't know if this other screenwriter went with her, or if it was Bill Condon's idea.
I think the biggest thing that this has going against is probably the pacing. The first Like, half hour is pretty quick if they jump from thing to thing. That middle hour is
like
very
super slow
yeah.
until you get to that final fight.
Like we've said, this isn't a terrible movie, so I don't know if I would give him worst director. I'd probably base it off of what else was nominated for worst picture.
Funny that you bring that up, because I'm about to talk about those.
It's almost like I intentionally segued there.
So, this was nominated against 1,000 Words, That's My Boy, The Oogle Loves and the Big Balloon Adventure, and Battleship. I think kind of a weak year.
Yeah.
If you have to stoop to the point where you nominate a children's film.
I mean, I guess out of these, this might be the worst one. I can't just, like, point at one and be like, oh, that one's definitely worse. I wouldn't say it is anywhere close to the worst picture that we've seen at all. I'm also not going out of my way to watch this movie again.
Yeah.
But, you know, when the time's right, yeah, it's alright.
Good for a marathon.
Yeah, sure. It's better as a marathon than as an individual movie.
I was less exhausted when we marathon these movies than I was watching this one solo. Sure, fine for worst picture, stacked against these.
Yeah.
On its own, it's a fine movie.
Alright, let's rank it.
Let's rank it. Best made. We currently have The Last Airbender on top and Jack and Jill below. Judging this as an adaptation of something that came before it, I wasn't lost. I never read the books. And I wasn't lost watching this, whereas if I watched The Last Airbender with no knowledge of the show, I would be completely lost.
I agree. There's many weak things about The Last Airbender, but something in common with this film is they both heavily rely on CG. CG in this movie is way better.
Oh yeah.
There are definitely goofy scenes.
I mean, every time they go fast.
Yeah, anytime they run, it's really funny. But in terms of like that last fight, like I was in it, there wasn't anything distractingly CG.
I think the wolves look fine.
Oh yeah.
For like
honestly,
these movies being
wolves,
10 years old.
Yeah.
Whereas you compare it to like the shot of Aang when Momo's on his back looks awful. So yeah, I'd put Twilight above The Last Airbender.
For sure.
And
most entertaining.
Most entertaining. This one's tough.
Yeah.
It's definitely above Jack and Jill.
Yes. It really depends on personal preference on this one. The Last Airbender is pretty fun to shit on. I was actively watching it to shit on it. This one, I definitely tuned out like the middle half.
As much as I dislike The Last Airbender, I didn't tune out at all. Because this movie's fun to shit on too.
Yeah,
but you do get to that middle section where nothing's really happening.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of people talking and then going somewhere and talking.
At least in the beginning, you can make fun of the whole Taylor Lautner plot, and at the end, you can make fun of the Taylor Lautner plot.
Yeah, exactly.
But in the middle, when nobody cares about Taylor Lautner,
yeah, where'd he go?
Where'd he go? I'd put it in between them.
Yeah. So say it.
The Last Airbender is more entertaining than Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Yay! Alright.
There it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we can recommend this movie to anyone without recommending the whole series.
The whole series.
And that's a big time commitment.
That is. If you're not a Twilight fan, like you didn't go through middle school reading the books, it's a fun adult watch with friends.
I think the first movie is bad and campy enough to where you can get into making fun of it, and by the end of it, you got some decent CG. You're kind of invested in the characters and story. It's a decent finale.
It's a decent finale. Yep.
What are we watching next week?
Next week, we are watching the... I don't even know what this movie is. Anthology comedy directed by 15 people, movie 43.
Hey, look at this.